Hey everyone, my name is Chris and I'm here back with another investment topic. So in this video, we are going to talk about a few top semiconductor stocks worth considering with the semiconductor chip shortage affecting multiple industries. Some of the most popular stocks are companies that design and market advanced chips like Nvidia, AMD, and Qualcomm, just to name a few. However, if you're looking to add more allocation to the semiconductor industry as part of your portfolio, in my opinion, it's a good idea to look at some of the other companies that actually manufacture chips or supply the equipment required. So my background is in software engineering, so I'm not really working in this industry, but a significant amount of my portfolio is in semiconductor. So it is a very interesting topic for me. And as usual, this is not a financial advice, just an opinion based on my personal research. Always do your own research before making any investment decision. So before going to the individual stock, I'd like to briefly discuss why investing in the semiconductor industry could be a good decision for the next 5 years. Semiconductors are often considered a cyclical industry, so it's used to be affected by the PC or smartphone cycle, but nowadays it's less so. You can find semiconductor chips everywhere. It's used in every industry affected by the digital transformation. You can find it in data center or server powering up cloud computing, artificial intelligence, machine learning, wearable devices, electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles, video gaming, 5G networks, crypto mining, and so on. So these industries are heavily dependent on semiconductor chips. So the other reason is OEMs or original equipment manufacturers themselves, which includes some of the largest technology companies in the world like Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Tesla design their own chips. So this in turn increases the demand for semiconductor chips, and also the COVID pandemic and the global economic shutdown have accelerated the digital transformation, causing the chip shortage with the surging demands. So why consider semiconductor manufacturers and equipment companies? First of all, manufacturing your own chip is very knowledge and capital intensive. It has a very high barrier to entry. These are likely the reason why many of the OEM companies like Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon, they prefer to focus on the software to design their own chip and have contracts with the foundry to manufacture them. Also, for many semiconductor equipment companies, there's not much competition. The companies that we are going to talk about is either in monopoly, duopoly, or oligopoly. So this is also affected by the consolidation in the industry into a few key global players over the years. So there have been corrections to technology stocks, but compared to software companies, many of the semiconductor equipment companies don't fall as much from the all-time high. So they don't grow as quickly, but they have been growing consistently, and the valuation is less expensive compared to software companies. In addition, chip shortage is predicted to continue through 2022, and it might even spill to the following year, so there will be enough demand for these companies. Okay, so the first stock is Taiwan Semiconductor, ticker symbol TSM. It's arguably one of the most important companies in the semiconductor industry because they supply more than 54% of chip manufacturing contracts in 2020. It's a dedicated semiconductor foundry and is the leading company in this area. So the second largest foundry is Samsung, but compared to Samsung, Taiwan Semiconductor doesn't compete with its customer. It simply manufactures chips based on the blueprints provided by their client, which includes companies like Apple, Nvidia, and Qualcomm. So talking about semiconductor chips, you probably have heard of the word nanometer, Tronelon, which refers to the size of transistor involved. So the smaller the transistor is, the more you can fit into a piece of silicon, and the more powerful and complex the component built from this transistor are able to be. So with that, companies that can release product with the smaller transistor technology have the competitive edge. So this is the case for AMD that's ahead compared to Intel because Intel has delayed their next generation 7nm chips. So back to Taiwan Semiconductor, they have the most process knowledge in figuring out how to do this at scale. And they even announced that they could do chip manufacturing with 3nm technology by 2022. So with how they can produce chips at scale, their profit margin is also very impressive. So in the last quarter, their profit margin is 38.5%. if you think about it, that profit margin is very similar to many software companies out there. The other thing to like about the company is that they have 1.5% dividend yield, which is not bad at all. So the second stock is Lam Research, ticker symbol LRCX. It's one of the companies providing semiconductor manufacturing equipment to manufacturers like Taiwan Semiconductor. So they provide deposition machine and etching equipment that are used to lay down transistors. So Applied Material is their main competitor in this area, and both are good companies. But in my opinion, Lam Research has better financial, and they have impressive gross margin and operating margin as well. So Applied Material has more market share, but Lam Research is in a good position to gain more. And it also paid a small dividend of 0.79% dividend yield. So the third company is ASML. It's a company based in the Netherlands. It offers an integrated portfolio of lithography system, or chip printing if you will. The company has the largest market share in this area and is the only company that could harness extreme ultraviolet or EUV light with a wavelength of just 13.5 nanometers. So this is a critical technology that allows chip makers to fit more transistor onto the silicon. So this machinery could cost more than $120 million, and the revenue comes from selling this machine and servicing them. So with the monopoly of this technology, it would be very hard for anyone to compete and catch up with ASML. It also has a small 0.48% dividend yield. So the last stock is Texas Instruments, ticker symbol TXN. It's the largest analog semiconductor manufacturer in the world. So they have more than 80,000 products for more than 100,000 customers. So their product often have a very long life cycle. Some of the products they sell were designed a long time ago. So compare that to digital or advanced chip designer like AMD or NVIDIA, which always come up with newer design. So analog semiconductor condition and regulate real-world functions such as temperature, speed, sound, and electrical current, while digital semiconductor process binary information such as that used by computers. So the chip manufacturing shortage doesn't affect TXN as much because they are vertically integrated and they have more control over their supply chain. So out of the four companies that we have discussed so far, Texas Instruments is the one that I don't have yet in my portfolio, but I'm looking for an opportunity to add it. It also has slightly lower valuation compared to the other stocks and perhaps a bit underestimated as well. A lot of devices make use of both analog and digital semiconductor. So with surging demand for digital semiconductor, demand for analog would increase as well. And the other thing is Texas Instruments also paid 2.15% dividend. So to summarize, the four stocks are Taiwan Semiconductor, ticker symbol TSM, Lam Research, ticker symbol LRCX, ASML, and Texas Instruments, ticker symbol TXM. So in terms of performance, as you can see here from the chart, all of them have beat the S&P 500 index. In terms of correction from the all-time high, all of them is still very close except for Taiwan Semiconductor, which dropped slightly more, around 10 to 15% here, but it's still a lot higher compared to the 40% drop for many of the growth software stocks out there. And in terms of profitability, as you can see here, all of them has a very good profit margin. Some of them like Taiwan Semiconductor and Texas Instruments has a very high profit margin, close to that of many software companies out there. And the operating margin and gross margin is very good as well. So in terms of valuation, they are not as expensive as software companies. ASML is the most expensive out of the four, but if you look at their forward PE, it is projected to be lower. And given that they have the monopoly on the technology, I think it is justified. The other thing that you could consider if you don't want to buy the individual semiconductor company stocks, you could consider buy semiconductor ETF. Many of the ETFs out there have the stocks that we have discussed in their list. And anyway, hopefully this is useful. Feel free to drop a comment or feedback down below, and I wish you good luck with your investment.